Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. We've got a wonderful piece in the Daily Express here, Scottish Daily Express, which is basically summarising and encapsulating the problems that the SNP have. And it's pretty, well, there's a lot of them. Let's just say there's a lot. They really are in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they don't know how to get themselves out of it. It doesn't help that you've got a tainted leader who hasn't got a clue what he's doing, who really hasn't got his heart in the game, hasn't got the funding, hasn't got the materials, hasn't got the manpower, and he is leading a party that's in complete disarray, that cannot accept reality, that's wasting its time on pushing trivia rather than dealing with the things that people actually want, and literally has no chance whatsoever of saving itself. They will be absolutely lucky to get any seats. Single figures would be amazing for them. No seats at all definitely is a possibility. And so you have Swinney running around panicking like a chicken with its head cut off. And what's he going to do? Well, more of the same. Let's have a look at this to see why it's all gone so spectacularly wrong for the SNP on day one. Here goes. So how the SNP's general election campaign unravelled in nightmare 24 hours for John Swinney. Now, of course, the same thing happened for Kate Forbes when she was running for the leadership. She was in a very bad place almost straight away. People were writing her off. And she came within a hair's width of winning it. Turns out, it's a good job she didn't. The awfulness of what was to follow is something she's done well in avoiding. However, the SNP advisers could be forgiven indulging in a stiff drink on Thursday night, as the party's election campaign got off to a horrendous start. Well, of course, I mean, the number one problem you got is him. You got that man leading the party. It's not good, and it's not a good look, and he thinks his personal charm is going to win it for them. No, I know. Did the video on that last night. I couldn't believe it either. As general election campaign starts go, things could not have gone much worse for the SNP. The second Rishi Sunak sounded the gun for the July the 4th vote, the party machine will have gone into overdrive. In fact, it was probably already there. But Nat advisers could be forgiven for reaching for a large whiskey on Thursday evening as their carefully set out plans crumbled around them. Some of this damage, of course, was self-inflicted, others through the fickle fortune of timing. Well, yeah, I mean, it really, they weren't expecting it. This is the thing. They were gearing up for a November election, as indeed was everyone else. Every single person in the world, except that Preston journalist. He called it. He said July. Tip hat. I've already spoken to him about it. Yes, well done. Anyway, SNP leader John Swinney got things rolling on Good Morning Scotland with a car crash interview when Laura Maxwell put him under the spotlight. You could tell it went badly because within minutes of it ending, prominent Nat social media accounts were all spouting the same line. That it'd been a terrific performance, completely at odds with what listeners had heard. The most startling revelation was Mr. Swinney's admission that the party will need to go cap in hand to supporters just to afford the campaign. They are brassic. The last accounts made grim reading for the SNP, and while it dodged a costly leadership contest, it would appear things haven't improved. No, I mean, it was 800,000 in the hole on the last set of accounts. This year's sets of accounts haven't been published yet. You can guarantee it's going to be worse. Probably well over the million. They're not going to raise any more money come after the election because they're going to fail to get enough seats. The banks may foreclose and pull their money back in. They've got falling numbers, of supporters. There's no sponsorship from corporate. Then there are very little donations. This is a party living on the breadline. By mid-morning, news had emerged that Michael Matheson was facing a 27-day suspension from Holyrood over his £11,000 iPad shuffle. The former health secretary was probably delighted at the general election news. confident that Thursday had become a good day to bury bad news. But it hadn't, because everybody was on it. Everybody was on the Matheson thing. But it is difficult to play down the longest suspension in Holyrood history. And at midday, Matheson's boss ensured even more headlines with his name in them, because he was standing up and attacking Annie Wells, saying the whole system was broken, he's going to stand by him, he's going to defend him, and he's not going to vote against all this. Rather than, look, let's just quietly get him out the door. Swinney's decision to go on the offensive and defend Matheson while calling into question the integrity of the committee which is recommending the ban may go down well as one of the greatest miscalculations in Scottish political history, and looked even worse when the details of the report emerged. It is not hard to imagine Labour and Tory HQs were popping open the champagne as he attacked the very foundations of devolution. It was a rather ham-fisted attempt to play to the SNP's core vote, but many Nats are also uncomfortable with Matheson's actions, and it puts Swinney way out of step with public opinion. He's been out of a step of public opinion for years. He doesn't talk to the public. He doesn't like the public. These people live in their ivory towers. What the hell do they know what real life is like? They're all inured to it, aren't they? They're all protected with their laser shield of wealth. None of them know what it's like. Of course, his earlier admission about the SNP being skint was likely connected to this. The last thing the SNP needs is a by-election on top of the general election, with Matheson facing pressure to resign, and resign he must. Swinney tried to turn the focus on Tory MSP Annie Wells. I did the story of this earlier, but he merely highlighted his party's own contempt for Holyrood, devolution, and of course the electorate. Yeah, I mean, he's saying, oh, well, look, we don't care about what the electorate think, well, we're quite happy to have a lying thief in there. I know the public don't like it, but, screw them. They'll have to put up with it. We don't care. It's a good look, isn't it, as you're going into an election? This turned Matheson into a general election. Sorry, eventually turning Matheson into a general election is an act of self-sabotage so spectacular it makes you wonder if Swinney went rogue, as it's hard to imagine any advisor would have backed it. No, his advisor would be saying, let it go. Just get him out, just take it, boom, 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 move on. Let it happen, move on. Don't highlight this. It's like saying, please don't look at my huge mistake, The dust hadn't even remotely settled on the extraordinary scenes when Operation Branchform came out. News that the police have handed the Crown handed the report to the Crown in relation to the embezzlement allegations against Peter Murrell, and the fact that Colin Beattie and Nicola Sturgeon are still being probed. She'd like that. On this one, Swinney had no control, but the damage could be equally as great. The police investigation is a bad smell for the SNP that just won't go away and is bound to play on voters' minds at the ballot box. Yeah, I mean, you've got the leader of the party, a party enmeshed in corruption, defending a man who is a self-admitted liar and fraudster. Who's going to vote for these clowns? Unfortunately, idiots. There's lots of them. With all that going on, it would have been easy to miss another bad news story. We could have a summer of discontent to look forward to, along with our summer election. A new pay deal has been offered to council workers, but unions are already indicating it's going to be rejected, and they're looking at strikes. And with everything else going on, the prospect of rubbish piling up in the streets is the last thing Swinney needs. And yet Swinney may well have. If they go on strike and the rubbish piles up, and the schools close, and this happens, and blah, 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 and all these things happen, and people look at Swinney and go, this is your fault. Single figures? Oh, let's get him out. Let's have 0. 0. It's doable? Certainly. I tell you what, it is definitely a wee dram or two, isn't it? If you have champagne, if you're in the Labour and the Tory and the Lib Dems, but yeah, his election strategists must be looking at him and going, we need to put a muzzle on this fool. Every time he opens his mouth, it's more votes to the opposition. And that's great, isn't it? Let him go. Let him go. He's worse. Can't believe these words are coming out. He's worse than Humza Yousaf. Anyway, we all thought, oh God, no, if they get rid of Hamza Yousaf and put someone half decent in, you know, might have a chance. No. John Swinney. As soon as I heard it was Swinney, I went, oh, this is going to be fun. Anyway, we'll come up. There we are, day one, screwed. You wonder what each day now going forward is going to be. It is going to be crash, bang, wallop. Makes you wonder if Swinney will even last to the end of the campaign. He's that bad. SNP hierarchy is thinking, oh, thank God we got rid of Hamza Yousaf. He was awful. Yay. Then they're looking at this and going, Hamza, come back. Come back, Hamza. All is forgiven. Can you imagine it? Hey ho. Thanks very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.